Call me cynical, but the lack of trick-or-treaters in our area has always struck me as rather curious. If ever there was a scary neighbourhood, it's our neighbourhood. And when we go through the wealthier parts of town and we see our neighbours bringing their children to the wealthier houses to get the better candy, I reflect on the fact that I guess no one would send their children to our area unless they wanted to, send them on a life of sex trafficking or the other various things that our neighbourhood is synonymous with. So, on this Halloween night, I thought it was probably time that I recorded one of these podcasts. Truth be told, I've actually recorded multiple podcasts. I just haven't put them to air. So, if you've missed your Long Funk recordings, it's because I've been concerned about the quality of Long Funk recordings. And all the curious topics that I chose to record on the new Mac operating system, even the new iOS operating system, and the fact that I'm now maintaining an old Mac laptop to record these podcasts because both the recording software and also parts of the editing software no longer work on the new Mac operating system. So my thought is, do I invest a little bit of time and the post-production software in particular, do I get the post-production software working? The fact that the mic doesn't work and these kind of things, secondary. In any case, these were not the topics that I was choosing to record on this evening. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things that I've been working on, other than producing these podcasts. Through the changes in the Mac operating system, I've had to rewrite a bunch of my open source to make it now drag and drop. The file accessing on the new Mac operating system has changed. So drag and drop actually makes a lot of the stuff more interesting because you work in a file, you just drag it into Noble Warfare as it is currently. You get Noble Warfare up and running. Similarly with Noble Ape, same thing. So that is something I've been working on. I have about 30,000 words of text, of which I want to add probably another 8 to 12,000 words to, and then call this just plain chaos thing done. Nearly there, getting there. A lot of little bits and piece editing and work around things, but there should be text that's available at least in printed form, hopefully sometime early in the new year. And then the big production associated with creating it into an audio book, repackaging it into an audio book with another accent to see how that thing works. I've been doing a lot of work on things that would have historically been called Noble Ape and is now called the Ape SDK or Simulated Earth or Simulated War or Simulated Ape even, or Ape Sim. And I realized that the swag associated with all of this stuff needs to be updated, which is very difficult because Noble Ape is the name of the swag venture thing. Cafe Press / Noble Ape will get you all the swag associated with this thing historically. So it's time to create new swag, a new name, a new way to get merch out there. I'm meeting Bruce Damer midway through next week to discuss with him how I can get some... Well, let's take a step back here. The plan was to create some kind of public charity thing around my open source development. In large part, well, really solely to get some stipend money to Bob Mottram. The other aspects, the trademarks and copyright and all this kind of nonsense, this could be done independent of a charity enterprise, a public charity, non-profit, as they say in this country. But I wanted to do something that was, protection, basically, from the absolute stupidity that I've experienced over the past 3 years. And in talking, this is my second round of lawyers that I've spoken to about this thing. In talking to them, they indicated that it would be relatively costly for me to go this route, and it was better to find an existing charity, donate money to that, and see if the existing charity would then create a stipend for Bob Mottram. So, wish me luck. That is the discussion I'm going to have. I could still create this entity. It would just take longer, and it would waste a bunch of money, which I think would much better go to the likes of Bob Mottram to work on this thing. So my evenings have been spent mainly working on software, mainly working on components of software. And I think the iOS app that I've been talking about is also something that will be for the new year. The low light period, the kind of darkened months, I just have to take piecemeal bits of work and work through those things through this period. And the writing that I discussed associated with the neighbourhood, that will take a back seat to finishing the writing that I have currently on my plate. Music as well has been a good portion of the time that I haven't been recording podcasts. And I've also been cleaning up, going through my podcasting room just to get a sense of the space and getting the space back to something that is more workable. And part of that is covered in my rules are better, and I'll talk about that elsewhere. This evening I wanted to spend a little bit more time actually talking about my projections for the new year. And the new year is a relatively interesting space for me. I'm going to spend a good portion of it travelling. It's probably more travel than I've done in living memory. And I've okayed this with work. I'm going to be spending a good portion of my time down in Los Angeles, which is an area that I like. It's going to be probably in the Orange County part of LA. It's not part of LA, it's a bit on from LA, but that area. And in doing that, I'm going to be probably, I don't know, I think some of it's going to be in hotels, some of it's going to be in Airbnbs. It's going to be equal between those things. And eventually it might become more Airbnbs than hotels, and we'll just see what it looks like. But travel takes a cut of my productive time. And a lot of the stuff that I do, like recording these podcasts, don't travel particularly well. They are things that require space and a microphone and an editing setup. So I will be optimizing my time around more the writing, more the software, more the music. Not the performance of the music, but just the mixing down and editing of the music. And that's what the new year is going to look like. I'm going to try to maintain model rail radio somehow through this coherently. Similarly, my rules are better. Both of these recordings are around times where I talk to other people predominantly. So they're going to be relatively easy to work out. I think I'm going to plan trying to get as much of my weekends here in the Bay Area as possible. And the rest of the time, we'll just have to work out how it falls together. It's going to be quite interesting. I'm not the best of travellers. I've become more a homebody as I've gotten older. And obviously I have to travel. We'll see how it pans out. I think the first casualty may be some of my productivity. And I'm just having to be comfortable with that. So in the new year, maybe I'll talk more about this LA thing. I think certainly somewhere through the new year, I'm going to have to talk solidly about it in some regard. But it's defining itself as a lot of unknowns currently. And I think we just need to get to a point where we've got familiar places to go. The familiar place that we have in London is really beneficial. And I think that gave an immense sense of peace this trip when we went in central London, but when we were in Mortlake. That gave a sense of space and calm and these kind of things, which is exactly what I'm trying to capture with regards to what we do in Southern California as well. The cats and the house and all these things are going to be looked after. We've got people in place for that. A little robot that cleans the house. Cats are going to be well looked after, and the house isn't going to be vacant for really any period of this time, which is one of the reasons actually that I'm not necessarily winterizing, but at least organizing my podcasting room, because all the space needs to fit together. So before the end of the year, there are going to be maybe 2 or 3 more of these podcasts. I've got to do my standard end of the year wrap up, which this year I think has been, I don't know, perhaps slightly less, adventurous than the prior year, but certainly probably travel, quite a bit of travel still. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for a variety of possible piecemeal things as more things come together. But I think this podcast has always been, or at least for however many years I've been doing it now, maybe a couple of years, has been a relatively true voice through a variety of different experiences. So stay tuned for more.